because these are the sloppiest notes I've ever written in my lifetime. Hello, my name is Kaitlyn, and I am the author of Superors the Potent, and I run this channel, The Busy Writer's Life. And in this video, we're talking about character descriptions, because these can be very boring. These can be written fairly boring fairly quickly. They're kind of a difficult area, especially for me. So to start with, there are some readers that actually believe, they don't think that the physical descriptions are necessary. They want to create the characters in their head. But I personally think it is. I have to have a character description because every person is different, and if you don't put one in, I'm going to automatically think of the most attractive person I can think of. And I personally also think that if you are creating fake creatures, like in a fantasy novel, for example, my half-vampire breeds, or if you're making some sort of demonic creature, then you should most definitely have a description of that, because that's not just going to be popped up in someone's head automatically. I also think that it's necessary, because what the character description does is it not only tells you what they physically look like, it also can give you into some of their background and some of their personality traits, especially if you're going into first person. Okay, usually the way the character reacts to the physical description will actually play on who they are and will actually get your character to connect with them better. And the thing is, writing character descriptions is hard to sound natural. Okay, physically, you're like, her eyes were blue, his hair was brown, something like that. You know, how do you make it actually entertaining? I mean, that's kind of a problem that I'm pretty sure every writer at least stumbles upon one time. Maybe if they're really good at it and has been writing for a while, they don't stumble onto that problem anymore. But even as a writer myself, I do. So where should you do the physical descriptions? For sure, not in the middle or the end. That is going to mess everything up. It should be the first low energy scene. If your book opens up with a fight scene, don't stop in the middle of the fight to describe what the character looks like or what the monsters look like, unless of course they're demons, and you probably should. When there's not that much going on, you should probably mention some sort of character description. Mine, for my main character, is a little bit on the late side, but I was probably even pushing how late it was. It was the second chapter, and it should probably be in the first. So it should be in the first earliest low energy scene, and I advise to avoid a mirror. It is so cliche to have your character look at themselves in the mirror and start picking out their stuff. I understand why it's cliche, but it's a trap to fall into, and there's nothing interesting going on there. Everybody expects that. When you are writing these, you don't want to pump them full of metaphors. That can get very confusing and old fairly fast. Sorry, this camera's full of opposites. And you should also keep it short and a few words. Literally 3 sentences should be your goal. Okay, it shouldn't be choppy, but at the same time, you don't need a whole paragraph describing what they look like, even if it is a main character. When you are choosing what to describe, I wouldn't go picking out everything, okay? Just kind of the things that are memorable. For example, if your character has a scar of some sort, or freckles, or even tattoos, that might be something to mention. But you shouldn't pick out exactly their eye shape or their eye length. I mean, there's only one author that I know of who's been able to succeed with that, and he's dead. So I don't know if that says anything, but so when you are describing them, just choose kind of a handful, maybe 3 or 4, that are the most memorable traits. And you also should remember that flaws are more interesting than perfection. So you shouldn't, if your character is super hot, you probably don't want to describe their abs. Okay, we kind of get that if they're pretty cute and other people are reacting to them. That's another thing that actually leads me directly to my next point. If you leave the reader alone, typically, naturally, the reader is going to automatically think of an attractive person. And especially if they are not attractive purposefully, you probably don't want them thinking that, and that is exactly what they're going to think, which is why the flaws are important. You also might want to include how they work with their traits, which can show their personality. Are they embarrassed of their arm hair, so they cover it up, or something like that? It can also exchange to their style. Maybe they have a whole bunch of piercings. And this also shows things that they can choose about themselves. I mean, there's only so much we can choose. So 2 tips I want to put into there, especially that's super important. So when you're going through your physical description, take out any word that is perfect. If you see the word perfect in there, take it out. If you see anything that's synonym to perfect, take it out. That's just going to bore your readers instantly. Do not compare them to celebrities. Celebrities are human beings as well, and so this will date your book, which you want to do as least as possible. And the celebrities, say I said that one of my characters looked like Kim Kardashian, like her hair was the same or something. Well, guess what's going to happen in about 60 years when my book exists? Kim Kardashian is going to be an old lady, maybe even dead. So if she's old, somebody's going to look up Kim Kardashian, which they shouldn't go through this much work, by the way. They're going to go through Kim Kardashian and find this old lady. And then they're going to think my super attractive character is old, which isn't what I'm trying to get across. So let's just not do that. Books are around for a long time. People are not. This kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. The more important the character is, the more they need to be described. If it's seriously just a suspicious person in the crowd that's only going to appear in 2 scenes in the book, then you probably just want to glaze over it in like 2 sentences. Your main character, you might want to spend 5. You still want to keep it short, but you kind of want to be more descriptive the more that they're going to appear through the book and the more importance they have. You need to think about what point of view that they have. What point of view you're telling your story in. If you're telling it in first person, you're going to probably want to include how your character reacts to them. I actually have a few examples from my own book. You're going to want to consider what kind of point of view you're telling your book out of. If you're telling it in third person, then you probably just want to describe kind of what's happening based off what that little ghost is thinking. But if you are telling it in first person, you should for sure include how the character reacts to that person. And when describing your characters, you should describe them the second that they first appear in your book. Especially if your character is first meeting that person, don't let them drag on for a while. And you need to pay attention to the relationship especially in first person, you need to pay attention to the relationship the characters have. That is going to affect how the character is going to describe. The character is describing them. I guess you're technically doing it, but you're not in the book. So I have 2 examples from this. I have a character description of this girl named Sophia. And this is towards the very beginning of the book. And she is described when she's first come across in the book. I wanted to compare her with another female that is in my book. My book is told in first person by a guy named Dalton Carter, who is a high school teenager. So I got to put that into account when I'm describing this. All right, let's see if I can find it. Then Sophia, the most popular girl in school, prances into the classroom and sits down right next to me. I scoot just an inch away, holding my breath from poison entering my lungs. Just being in the same room with her makes my nose tang with the cloud of perfume she travels in. Not one person even whispers about it, though, for fear of social shutout. Her green eyes just study her jean purse that wrinkles on the student desk in front of her. I wonder if her plastic nose could be stuck up in the air any more than it already is. It might be her sheer black hair or her makeup mask making her a clay doll. The classroom door squeaks open, and a buff, spray-tan brunette jock strolls into the classroom. JJ. Though he claims Sophia, I'm certain he had his fun with 3 fairies over the past week. The seat is taken, Sophia renders to me without removing her eyes from JJ. So in this paragraph, you kind of get that she is mean, and that the character doesn't like her. He thinks that she smells funny, and that she is overly popular. And not only that, she's about to take a seat for her own boyfriend. So it kind of shows that that Dalton doesn't like Sophia, and this is right off the beginning. When he described her having a lot of makeup on, he described her as a clay doll. When he described what she smelt like, he described that it was poison. So those are usually negative undertones, and he even scooted an inch away. So while I was describing this, you kind of get the relationship between the two and how he's going to think about her throughout the book. Now, a little further down, there's another one of this girl named Kate, who, by the way, spoiler, is the exact opposite. Alright, so let's see if I can find it. Alright, now read this one. Same guy. My shoulders shudder as one of the doors rumbles open. Out steps a woman with wavy chocolate hair down to her elbows and eyes identical to Tate's. That's very important. A black leather jacket zips over her chest. As she begins to walk our way, my jaw drops to the ground. Senses go numb and my mouth fills with water. My lungs pause at the sight of her jeans and hair gliding back with a gentle breeze. Once she's closer, my eyes catch onto her wrist. A bracelet wraps around it precisely like Tate's, except the pear gem in the middle of its jewel beaming the most, with a minimal ruby pressing in the middle. My eyes freeze on her path, her brow grimacing as if she is facing a murderer. Nearly halfway down the steps, she accuses. This? Seriously? Tate lowers his head a little, but the woman snaps her fingers, chiding. Don't. Then Tate sighs and raises his head back up. He cocks his head towards me, and the woman's eyes meet mine. I'm probably staring. So, as you can get this, he's checking her out. And he is completely numb, and she obviously doesn't like him. You can kind of tell by she's constantly frowning, and that she is snapping at her friend, that she is bossy, and probably stuck up a little bit. But the fact that he described that his senses have gone numb, he feels like his jaw just dropped to the ground, and that his mouth is filling with water, and the fact that he's thinking to himself, I'm probably staring, yeah, he likes her. And by the way, that is the love interest in my book. So, and as much as she hates him, too bad, he loves her. So, in case you couldn't tell, also by the way he was looking at her describes the personality. Dalton Carter's a basketball player. So he doesn't think a lot of girls, and he doesn't think of girls in a high respect fashion manner. He's not describing her clothes specifically because that's not what he's passionate about. Even though that, most of his sentences are short and they're not super metaphoric because that's not his personality. He never describes her eyes as blue as the sea. As cliche as that sounds, he doesn't use a lot of metaphors, especially in first person, which is very important to consider. You need to be your character and how they talk. And mine kind of just has a 3.0 GPA, so he's not using high vocabulary. So that's about all. Yeah, that's all I have in my notes. So that's all I've got. There's a whole bunch of other videos if you want to continue to do your research. They help me a lot, and of course, go ahead and check out the rest of my stuff. Don't have such a smooth face. You need some wrinkles. Yeah, you need some wrinkles. You need some flaws in you to make yourself three-dimensional and believable in a story. Hello! I'm videotaping this whole thing.
You gonna post it?
I don't know. We'll see. So, let's just kind of hop right into it. Let me review my notes so I know which way I'm going. Because these are the sloppiest notes I've ever written in my lifetime. Where do you describe the characters that your character at first want? I totally messed up, sir. Okay. How am I going to describe this? Go back to when I started talking about first person. About 45 seconds ago. This whole thing's going to have to be cut out. Okay. So, I have a girl named Sophie in my book, just at the beginning. And I want to read the description I have for her. It's actually a little bit lengthy, but my book is told in the first person under a guy named Dalton Carter. And so when he first comes in the book, when he first comes across this girl named Sophia, then did I seriously say her name wrong? I did. Oh my goodness. Okay, delete that.
What?
I said one of my characters' name wrong.
What did you say your name?
Sophie and Sophia, the one I couldn't decide on the names. Okay. Anyway, I bet you Dad's gonna embarrass me with that. Okay. Anyway, okay. Let's hang out on the internet, okay? I have a blog on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course there's here on YouTube. All those links should be in the description. Please hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up because that would absolutely make my day. Okay. If I am any help to you at all, then please go ahead and check out the rest of my stuff. I mean, that would also make me happy. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again. I want to have you watch my videos again, so please come back.